best things I've ever seen in all my years of doing wildlife photography. Just gonna keep shooting while it's gonna last. Every fall in Nova Scotia, there's a pilgrimage for nature photographers that's worth doing. It's a road trip to windy roads and amazing colors. I'm in the company of Gavin Hardcastle, an amazing photographer that's also entertaining to be with. We'll see plenty of waterfalls, take plenty of photos, and I'll get one big surprise. So on the road again with a couple of troublemakers.
What are you talking about?
Here.
I don't cause trouble.
No, not at all. So we're hiking off to a waterfall. Of course, our old enemy is also here with us, blue sky, which of course is just the bane of all landscape photography. And when that happens, one of the strategies you can use, of course, is to try to find some photogenic things that don't need sky in the shot. So waterfalls sometimes can be kind of interesting, where you can find some things to put in your composition, but not have a lot of sky. And I think Gavin's found a few gnarly trees along the way. So
twisty, gnarly. If the light's good with these trees, the colours are fantastic right now. So I think you'll like this.
Sounds good. Cool. So yeah, so we're hoping for some color and hopefully a pretty waterfall and something interesting around it to make some nice composition. So we'll see you guys in a bit. One more flight of rocks on the way up to the waterfall. Look at that, beautiful zigzaggy falls all the way up there. That's beautiful. Wish I had a little bit more color on the trees. There certainly is a pretty sight. Now the trick in this situation is to find a nice composition. We've got an interesting shape to the waterfall. It kind of zigzags all the way up, and might be an opportunity for a nice composition. I don't know whether or not vertical or horizontal would be better. So I'm going to try a few different variations here and see what I can find, see if I can find something interesting. So here's one potential composition here. If I look around, there's a major part of the falls. There's also here this tree that could be interesting. Of course, there's the top of the fall there that I don't have it all in the photo, but using a zoom lens here, I can back off and include a little bit more in the photo. I kind of like that tree on the left, waterfall on the right, little gap at the top for a little bit of light. I'm going to set my ISO at 100. I'll lower my shutter speed until the histogram looks right. I'm shooting at f11, which will give me plenty of depth of field, but the other interesting thing here is that at 6/10 of a second, which you can see down here, it should introduce some motion blur into the photo, so make that water move a little bit, which might be nice. Let's take a shot of that. So here we are now in a vertical crop, which actually I like quite a bit better. I find the parts of the right and the left of the photo that weren't very interesting are good. I've got a zoom lens here. I really like the tree on the left-hand side over here. So I'm going to keep that in the photo, put that in the left-hand side, put the waterfall down in the lower right-hand corner, kind of along the lines of a rule of thirds. Of course, this triangle in the middle, overexposed, is always a problem shooting waterfalls, but I'm going to try to minimize that by zooming in a little bit more, maybe angling the camera a little bit lower, so I really don't have that triangle of overexposed sky, because we got a clear blue sky, there's just nothing interesting in there. So I'm going to take a couple of shots with this setup here. I'll get something like that. I kind of like that composition right there. The rocks on the bottom right don't look that interesting. In processing, I might darken those a little bit, but we've got some great character in the rocks over here, and the lines cutting across the rocks here look really, really nice. So this looks like something that's usable. I really like that one. Let's see what kind of shenanigans Gavin's up to. What are you up to there, buddy?
I hate that Sony A1. I hate it.
Uh-oh.
It is the most perverse and weird menu system. I just spent 15 minutes trying to switch off, you know, the focus magnification where you get the little halo?
Yeah.
Can't switch it off. It says it's off. It's still on.
Gavin's gnarlyishness tree. If there's a little bit more light in some of these leaves in the back, you could actually get an interesting photo here. Okay, time to walk away back to the vehicle. Gavin's up ahead of me there, and the colors haven't changed as much as we would have liked. Having a bit more color behind that gnarly tree or along the waterfall would have been really nice as well. So you always keep looking, and we'll go have a look and see what else we can find. Here's an interesting spot. There's a nice little tree up there with some lily pads in the front. The way I've got the shot framed up, I've got some beautiful lily pads in a semicircle like the land around the tree base, the tree a little bit left, and leave some room for those beautiful colors in the top. Gavin and I are looking across the lake here, and here I've got a nice tree without a lot of leaves on it, but it is kind of interesting, those branches, the way they make an X with the reflection of the water, and then the other tree just to the right of it. So I'll take a couple shots of this one. Hey, so it's bright and early in the morning. The sun's going to be coming up in about 15 minutes. And Gavin and I are set up here next to Tenerife Peak, which is the tallest point in Nova Scotia. So we're here in Cape Breton, and there's some beautiful colors up in the mountains. The sun's going to be coming up behind me over here. Tenerife Peak is over here. So we're going to take our drones out and fly around and see what we can get for some shots. So I've got my Mavic Air 2 Pro out. It's about 10 minutes before sunrise. I'm just waiting for a little bit more light before taking off, because I've got 3 batteries, but they only last about 25-30 minutes each. And I don't want to use my battery power until there's a bit of shooting light. So I'm waiting for the sun to almost come up. Then I'll go up quickly, do a scouting trip around to find some compositions. And then once the sun is up, just start shooting. I want to shoot some video footage. I also want to shoot some photos. I'm going to go fly towards Tenerife here. I'm flying, Gavin, so I can't talk long, but why don't you give us the quick rundown on what just happened?
Well, I just almost lost my drone there. It came to critical battery, emergency landing.
It was emergency landing or in the ocean.
Yeah, that's not good, is it?
That's good. So a couple of swear words and some fancy maneuvering on the joystick, and he got it back. But I think he was cutting her kind of close.
I've got the shakes.
So Gavin and Amanda are ahead of me here, and they're finding the way forward to Egypt Falls, which is in the Margaree Valley, I guess. And I guess it's not going to be a very long hike, but maybe steep on the way down, steep on the way back. And at the end, I think, is a big, wide waterfall. So we'll see that in a little bit. Steep coming down here, but it's a really pretty spot in the forest here. Here we are down at the riverside, and check out these falls. Wow, wow, wow. This has got to be one of the prettiest waterfalls in all the province of Nova Scotia. Just absolutely amazing. Look at how wide that is, and how evenly the water is splashing across it is just beautiful. So the thing to do now is to go exploring for compositions. So I'm just going to be walking around with my camera in live view, looking back at the camera, and just seeing what I can see for interesting composition. So now is the time just to be looking around and snooping around and checking out different angles. I'm recovering a bit. Phew. I fell head over heels, unfortunately, and cut myself a few places. I've got some pretty bad scrapes on my legs. Nothing seems to be broken. Gavin's advice was, don't worry about bleeding. Just make sure you've got nothing torn or broken. So that's great. That's a great advice. Don't worry about the bleeding. So after my fall, I thought it best not to go playing in the rocks too much more. So I've got the 100 to 400 lens here on my R5. And I think from a safe distance, I'm going to try to hunt in those, in that waterfall and try to find some interesting compositions in the water, shooting at 100 millimeters, maybe 150, maybe 200 if I can find something interesting. So I'm going to hang around here at a very safe distance and see if I can get some photos. I'll show you what I get in a second. Working on some compositions here. There's some nice color up above, but I don't like that little corner up here where it's just light. So I'm trying to cut that out of the photo. I'm trying to include a little bit of the trees here though, and of course some water. So I'm going to play around with some compositions to see what I can find. So here's an interesting composition. I've cut out some of the top part here. I don't want the sky, but I do want some of the trees, some of that beautiful color. So I've got some color to the top of my photo, some little bits of waterfall here at the top, and of course at the bottom right third, if I use a rule of thirds, I've got the biggest part of the waterfall in the bottom third. So I'm going to take a few shots there. I'm shooting 0.4 of a second, f11, ISO 100, and I'm going to take a few shots, maybe play with my shutter speed a bit to see if I can change the speed of the water. If you shoot too fast a shutter speed, you freeze the water, and too slow, it smears it all out. So you've got to get that shutter speed kind of just right where you see some movement, but you haven't obliterated all of the detail in the water. Let's check in with the master here. Actually, this is Gavin's got a course on composition, actually, and that's the whole piece of what we're doing here today is with these long lenses, trying to find interesting compositions in all of this. There's a lot going on. Got any big tips for us, other than buy the course, which you should?
Is there a link in the description?
I'll put a link to his channel, and in his channel you'll find a link.
Yeah, there's actually 2 videos. Composition, actually, no, there's 3 videos. Composition made easy. 3 tutorials. Composition made easy, 1, 2, and 3. Well, what I would do, and what I am doing, is I'm just simplifying everything because there's so much mess.
There is.
And clutter around this. It's just hard on the eyes. So to simplify it, I put the 100 to 400 on, and I'm shooting at 135, and I'm just picking these little vignettes out of the cascade, and I'm trying to balance the perfect amount of cascade, where you just got that streaky water, with these colourful leaves that are just trapped. And already I've got probably 3 or 4 award-winning shots.
Award-winning.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
It's Amanda's Twirl Award. She gives me a twirl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the
I
award.
thought you were going to usurp Adam from the Landscape Photographer of the Year award.
Well, I'd have to enter to do that.
Oh, okay. So
He
he didn't win because he didn't try.
Exactly. That's the best way to do it in life. You can't be a loser if you don't try.
That's right. Keep your expectations low. You'll be a winner all the time. So this is the end of the leg for Gavin.
This is the end, my friend.
So he's going to be heading off back home and taking care of the church and the cats and all that fun stuff. I'm going to hang around for a little bit and maybe look for some moose. I got the big 500 f4 with me, and I've got a couple of back roads kind of lined up. So maybe a bit of landscape, something I don't have to hike too far, and some moose and whatever else I can see.
Are you
That's
sure?
interesting.
Because you've been a bit accident prone today, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm not going to go far from the vehicle.
Because like moose can be quite dangerous. I've heard some stories.
Well, yeah, where I see the sign that say aggressive moose, I say where? My joke is always, if you find me mauled in the woods, open up the photos in the camera. My last shot is probably really, really impressive.
Yeah, be careful.
Sounds like a plan. See you guys later.
Bye.
Say bye. Hey everyone, I'm here in the Highlands of Cape Breton and on the CABOT Trail, and I'm out here looking for moose here in northern Nova Scotia. It's the rut in the fall. The bulls will be active. able to find a cow still with her calf from last year hanging around together. Moose really love lakes and bogs and aquatic vegetation, so these areas where there's some water and some bogs are a really good place to find some moose. It's beautiful sunny morning and not much wind, a bit cool, but a great opportunity to find some moose. I'm really hoping to get some shots and get some nice video footage as well to be able to show you. Okay, it's time to go for a little hike. I'm going to hike down to Benji's Lake. It's not a long hike here, maybe 20 minutes, and I'm going to hang around there. What a beautiful scene. All these ferns have turned to gold, and here's a path going right through it. This is amazing. Here we are, going to approach kind of quietly here. Don't want to spook any moose if there are any feeding by the edge of the water. Well, no luck here. Time to go try another location. See you guys in a bit. Hey everybody, a little bit of a wildlife photography tip here. We've got a very unique situation here which makes for beautiful photos. I'll show you around a bit. The sun is coming up from behind me over here, but it's fully illuminating the background over here. There are some juncos flying around amongst some of the trees that are still in the shade. And here's the opportunity for wildlife photos is if your subject is ever in the shade and the background is fully lit by the sun, it makes a beautiful effect because your backgrounds really glow and there's no shadows at all on your subject, which makes just a beautiful juxtaposition of your wildlife or birds with no shadows, but the background is really fully lit and golden. It's really an amazing look. So I'm going to try to see if I can get a photo of some of these juncos flying around. And with any luck, one of them landing on a perch that's in the shade, but the background fully lit. And if I can be successful, I'll show you what it looks like. There's one. Got him. That's awesome. Hey folks, it's hard to believe there's actually a moose here right in front of a car in the dark. I'm gonna try to get some shots. I'm shooting 2 moose in front of a parked car with the breath coming out, and it's absolutely amazing. I'm just gonna keep shooting while it's gonna last. It was time to end my Cape Breton road trip. I had an amazing time with a moose encounter I'll certainly never forget. But one thing's for sure, I'll be back next year.